Yeah, bamboo coral is probably much older than that. There's some bamboo corals that have been dated to close to 4,000 years. So yeah, it's a general trend here in the deep sea that things happen a little bit slower, things grow slower, they mature later in life, they live longer, but that makes these habitats particularly vulnerable if they're impacted. It takes a long time for things that grow slow to recover, and that's one of the things why we're so interested in these ecosystems is they are some of the most vulnerable ecosystems if they were to be impacted. So trying to understand a little bit more about them before they're impacted is really what we're trying to accomplish. And this is very interesting that we've seen the permnoid corals being replaced by the chrysogorgid corals as the most abundant ones. So yeah, we see at least 3 different genera of chrysogorgid corals here being the most abundant ones.
What heading are you looking at?
Did the ship just stop?
It's about to. I'll call it in just a second here.
Okay. I can give it 1 or 2 minutes for Sirius to...
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a quick snap zoom on that sea star.
Hey, come on in, Ed.
Yeah, there's also, if you want to hold this position, I think there's a fish hiding behind a rock off to your starboard lower.
Closest, I think that might be a pteraster. Certainly, I think that's in that family at least, the Pteracidae.
Come in a little bit more. So
Yeah, and Chris agrees with my initial idea, and and he even offered potential species here, Pteraster reticulata. So yeah, thank you, Chris, for providing that.
Right. Another sea star to the port.
Yeah, I think that's the same thing. We're good.
Just do a quick snap zoom on it.
Okay, go for it.
Yep.
Holding.
Yep. Go ahead.
In. Holding. Focus.
Okay.
Yep.
That's good. All right.
Alright, I'm still swinging. We'll get you out ahead and then call
Yeah, so we've now crossed
right on your right there. You wag just
900 meters, and interesting, the oxygen has slightly increased. We're at 1.3 now.
Just come around lateral starboard. Thought he was back in there when we were coming around the first time. Saw his tail wagging out.
But we definitely have seen the community changing from one that was dominated by these primnoid corals and the occasional Sacocalix glass sponges to one that's almost exclusively dominated by chrysogorgid corals and most of them metallogorgeous. Yeah, good spot.
Coming in a little more. Holding there. I'm just going to hold here.
That looks like that Ophidiid possibly we saw earlier, but I'm not too certain.
Yeah, Dan, this is Bruce. This is different. This is one of the species that has a distinct disjunct lateral line with the anterior port part that's slightly elevated, then a little gap, and
Recommends
then
more,
a
we're
continuation
in
along
the
the
water
midline.
column.
We're in the water
bottom.
column.
All right, I'm just
There's
like
also a
this.
flap on the gill cover.
I'd rather jump in
just
sharp than
on the
something
top of the gill
closer
cover up
out of
above.
focus.
We
Drifting
saw
up
this
on
on
'em.
last year's
Okay, I'm
dive.
looking
This is in the
straight down
family
on you, pilot.
Biphididae,
All
the
right.
live-bearing brotulas
Yeah,
or
just a little
cuspio.
bit.
Yeah.
And that flap indicates
I
that
only
it's
got
in
a
the
moment
genus
here.
Yeah, I hear they're still
Diplacanthophoma.
talking
Let me,
about it on the
get-
call.
Oh,
Get the
excellent. Thank you, Bruce.
So we can get a profile and then.
Yeah, there's something on that bottom.
Yeah, and I
Yep,
just,
and I see that Andrea was right on top of that in
Coming
the
out.
chat room. So these are known in Hawaii from specimens
think we've
only
got this
that were
ID.
collected off of lava flows in the
Right.
Big Island by William
It's come out.
Gosline
Roger.
in the 1950s. Two
Figured he'd
specimens
still
that he
be there.
thought were
Looks
two
like he's
different
hiding from the
species.
current.
And we don't know
Right.
which one this
Don't
is.
see why.
There's very little information about these in the Hawaiian
I saw you
Islands.
using
So our
about
observations were
75%
the first
thrust
of
and
live
lateral
animals
into
here in
it
Hawaii.
earlier, so.
And
Well,
now, while we
broadside,
have as
this
many
thing is bigger
observations,
than a
actually
barn,
more
so-
observations
Yeah,
of the live
and
animals
we've
than
got
there are
one or
specimens
another
in
two or three
museum
of those
collections
before, I think.
for Hawaiian
Snap on
specimens.
them just to confirm
Yeah,
if
go
you
ahead.
want.
yeah,
Coming in,
thank you very much.
Hi, Daniel.
holding there.
Go ahead, Andrea.
Oh, hey, we have a synapse breakage here in view. It looks like it has an ectoparasite on the side.
Dunk.
It's just scarring.
Yeah.
Pull away.
Pushing
Yeah, I
ahead.
just wanted to add, when Bruce was talking about the Bifidid Diplocanthopoma, I just wanted to add an ecological aspect, or actually reproductive biology. That family of fishes are actually live bearers. So they do have internal fertilization and release live young.
Did you want me to call in as
Oh, excellent. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Andrea.
Let's see. Yeah, if we keep moving.
Okay. Pilot, how do you feel? Copy that?
Yeah, just to chime in some
Great
more,
job.
that's also a very unusual life history
We get a
strategy
30
for
meter move at
marine
0.5
teleos fishes, the
degrees,
bony fishes.
0.2 knots.
There are a number of families of freshwater fishes that are live bearers, and the sharks, skates, and well, at least
Good
the
job.
sharks, I know a lot of those are live bearers, but there are very few groups of marine bony fishes that are live bearers. So these are very unusual.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, that's a nice view there. We do have a nice moderate density here. And we see the
Copy that bridge, thank you.
the sensor on the ROV. Oxygen level has now actually gone quite. We're up to 1.4
Another one of those. It's a sponge. Disregard.
milligrams per liter.
Dan, is it my imagination, or are there more particulates in the water column now?
Oh yeah, and you see a lot more flow, and yeah, I agree with you, Scott. Yeah, where we started the dive, there was no current, and just a little while ago, our pilots made a comment that we're now seeing a slight or feeling a slight current
It's
coming.
more than slight. Like this is
So-
hands off.
Yeah. Okay.
Just being blown the port.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. So there you go.
It's
So
a
we do.
significant current.
We do have a significant current, yeah, and these things do appear to be going hand in hand, so that you have animals in places where you do have these dependable and pretty substantial currents. And yeah, this is a beautiful
Brilliant.
shot of this community. Go ahead, Scott.
It's a little late. I was going to point out there was a really nice side view of a juvenile Metallogorgia and an adult one.
Yeah.
Past it.
Pilot, do we need to mark the current, or is it?
Yeah, you can mark when we saw the current change.
Okay.
Which is a little bit farther back.
Okay. I can manually put in there. What were we estimating it to be about?
I don't know. I just put, and I think it's out of like 135.
Okay.
It's coming from that direction.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is an absolute beautiful imagery of this community here. This is nice moderate density, and we do have a good current up here. And yeah, we're going through a little personnel change here with our piloting team, so just bear with us for a couple minutes. Wanted to once again thank all of our shore-based scientists for joining us throughout this expedition, and of course at today's dive, and supporting this expedition, and being engaged and remaining engaged even though we weren't diving, and following up on IDs. Really appreciate that. And then of course I want to thank also all the viewers who are joining us from several of the public displays in Hawaii, as well as elsewhere, as well as from their homes. So there's a question about the currents that's coming from the east, or towards the west, in that east to west direction. Go ahead, video. Yeah, so the ROV team are just doing their change, and they wanted to send out a warm regards to Dr. Andrea Quattrini, who was joining us from the Exploration Command Center at the University of Hawaii. So yeah, all of the engineers sent their regards, Andrea.
Daniel, I missed that. We were looking at a fish here.
No, just we were going through a change of the pilots, and they just wanted to make sure that I pass on their regards. So all their engineers here on the ship wanted to say hi and sent their regards to you.
A couple minutes for Sirius to swing into position.
Oh, hello to all of you guys. You guys are doing a fantastic job. Great images as always. Good
like,
piloting, good collecting.
We're going to have to
Yeah,
turn a bit.
Guys are going very well.
Those previous moves.
I second that. Yeah, just absolutely
Yeah, we were growing
All right.
great job. This is one of the best
Hey,
teams.
I have you loud and
Absolutely
clear. All of your
Perfect.
cameras are full wide.
very professional,
Sure,
working
you've
hard.
been here
We
a little
had
bit, so
Yeah, we've seen most
we
of
had
Feel
it.
free to call
one
out.
issue at
Yeah.
the beginning with
We can,
one of the
it's unique.
mechanical
Doing a lot of
arms,
wags
and they
just to
worked
kinda characterize
extra
over the
hard
edge
that
and
night
what's
and
the
got it
slope
fixed
on
in
our
no time. And
starboard's looking like.
yeah, just a
Roger
very, very
that.
dedicated and hardworking
back.
team.
To port, Bobby.
okay.
I'm just trying to get a direction for the slope.
So we've been doing 30-meter moves, but it looks like
Oh, do you
Sirius
need to give you a heading?
Yeah.
needs to come in
Okay.
more like 060 rather than 035.
Yeah, that looks about right. Zero. Do one
So
more
that-
pass in the sonar.
And,
Yeah, maybe about 070.
Okay.
Have we seen these anemones before at the bottom of it?
No,
Yes,
let's take a quick look at that. Thanks.
And while we're stationary, I'm going to turn to face Bobby. Bobby, you're...
Yeah, I'm gonna just go down real quick to see this guy, and then I'll come right back up.
And Andy was warning me that we're not making way fast enough to make the waypoint.
A nice
So yeah,
shot
that's
in the
it is
Sirius
one of the more
camera.
common ones, but it's also one of the more
It is
photogenic
full
ones. So this is going to be in the genus EX1603. He's very large.
Sounds like we don't need to spend a lot of time, so let's make it happen,
Just
video.
jump
Yeah.
in and grab that, and there you go.
So yeah, Jim will do 30 meters,
You can keep coming up if you want.
070.
I'll just
Yeah.
come out.
0.2.
Still trying to get used to this current
You're
vehicle.
wide.
Wanna go
Yeah,
a
it's
little longer?
really coming strong from your starboard.
Yeah, took my tail up there.
So yeah, those anemones are
We'll do
one of the largest ones
start with
we
a
have
30-meter
here in the
hop. It
deep
looks like it's
waters.
circling flat,
It can be either slightly orange or brown in coloration,
looks
and
like
then
Bobby's doing
it's
smaller.
also
30
quite
meters,
conspicuous in that the
0.0.
tentacles have these round bulbs.
That's it.
Bridge
Head around,
nav.
Bobby.
There we have Iridogorgia magnispiralis in center
We've got a
view.
move for you. We'd like to go 30 meters, bearing 070.2 knots, decimal 2 knots.
Depth is 870 meters, and so yeah, the oxygen level has come back up. We're at 1.3 now, so it got as low
Good
as
copy. Thank you, Bridge.
just under 1 milligram per liter.
Okay. Pushing forward.
So, Bobby, if you just want to center yourself up in Sirius camera, you're good to go.
That's going to take me off the ridge.
Is it?
Yes.
We've got those fish. You see that we've had.
Yeah,
about
so
4
this
of
is
those.
Okay.
especially the Sirius overhead display really highlights the steepness here of the terrain and can get a better appreciation.
Overview shot from afar. It disappears off that way.
Yeah. Would have been a bit more easterly than 070, but
But this does look like a fairly steep segment.
yeah,
So
it's only a 30-meter hop, so.
try to stay out ahead of you.
Yeah, another one of these Metallogorgia sponge corals to our left. As well as to the right, you have 3 just coming into view.
So peek over the corner there. And back left. Josh is right. This current coming right over the edge is playing tricks.
So we're currently at a depth of 862 meters. We were on the bottom at about a depth of 1,280 meters. So we've covered a good amount of ground on our dive so far, and during which we've transversed through the oxygen minimum zone. And you've also heard us talking a lot about the black coating on all these rocks, the manganese coating. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about that because the two actually go hand in hand.
Yep.
So the ferromanganese crust or manganese crust, mostly composed of manganese and iron oxides. There are 2 main mechanisms in which scientists think that this precipitate starts to form. So one of the mechanisms is the concept of biogenic formation of these manganese crusts, and this is as well as almost all chemical reactions within nature, is a
distance. So I'm gonna
pH-driven reaction in which the
skim over everything unless something jumps out.
Sure.
excuse me, the chemical reaction begins with coccoliths. So coccoliths are microscopic organisms that compose their skeletons out of calcium carbonate. So as the coccoliths form their skeletons in the upper oxygenated zone, and they begin to sink, the dissolution of their calcium carbonate skeletons is then replaced by manganese oxide. And so as their calcium carbonate starts to dissolve, in its place comes the manganese oxide. And this is formed at the boundary between the oxygen minimum zone and the oxygen-rich bottom waters.
Working for you? Do you want to be closer, farther away? Okay. Roger that.
The second chemical process that scientists have invoked to explain some of the deposition of these manganese crusts is the colloidal chemical process, or basically the inorganic precipitation of manganese oxide, in which this also results in the absorption of other heavy metals by the manganese oxyhydroxide colloids, or particulates that are in the water. So this results in the co-precipitation of cobalt, titanium, thallium, and cerium, and this is what makes these manganese crusts so economically interesting to deep-sea manganese nodule and manganese crust mining. So cobalt, titanium, thallium, and cerium are precious heavy metals that are very valuable and concentrate themselves in these manganese crusts.
Preparing for our next move.
So as both of the biogenic or inorganic precipitates form in the water column, they then settle out and start to coat the basaltic edifice itself, and so that's how we get this manganese crust formation. And like I said, it's a pH-driven reaction, so any time you have a change in the oxidation state of the water or the oxygen content of the water, such as this oxygen minimum zone and the boundary between it and oxygenated layers, these chemical processes start to take place.
This local.
Right.
Want to do another 30?
Yeah, we'll do another 30, and then we'll make it more if it's flatter on the top.
Bridge nav.
It's a really neat sediment pocket that just came into view,
We'd like to move,
kind of
please.
off of the ridge, but
meters,
another
bearing 085.
very heavily
Speed,
sediment
decimal
pocket.
knots.
Must be dropping out due to the drag on the current as it's skipping over this ridge.
Just gonna turn left real quick.
Pretty heavy
Give them a
blanket
view
of
here.
sediment, actually.
Sorry, what was that, Watchley? Do you like to look at the sediment?
No, it's just commenting on the sediment. We keep on. So for most of the dive today, it's been very light sediment and these sparse, heavy sediment pockets. So I was just noting that observation.
Roger.
It's an interesting spot, John. I wonder if that's like a little eddy feature. You know, it's hidden behind where the dominant current is coming from.
Yeah. So Scott, that's kind of what I was just mentioning. So I think this deposition is probably on the lee side of some kind of crust feature in which the current starts to eddy out and the particulates are able to settle out of the water column. Yeah, so we've only seen 2 of these kind of sediment pockets.
Things to note along with the observation of that sediment pocket is how important it is to have currents where the sediment is swept off of these rocks, or else these corals wouldn't be able to settle as larvae on the bare rock. Instead, they'd be buried in sediments like that. So, interesting contrast right there.
Coming up.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Yeah, so what Scott was just saying is for these sessile organisms which cannot swim around in the water freely, it's very important for them to have a stable and non-sedimented surface and substrate in which they can grow on. And you can see that drastic difference in habitat between that heavy sediment pocket where there are no sessile organisms such as corals or sponges, and then the hard rock substrate directly on the right of it where there obviously are corals and sponges living on that hard rock surface. So definitely a critical observation and a theme that we've observed throughout these expeditions.
A bit of a flat area, according to high pack.
The next height is over
The
here.
beautiful view there, that
Which
wall
is-
where a whole bunch of organisms.
Facing away motion?
Oh,
And there's another one of those gonostomatid fishes.
Are
And,
you heading the...
085.
and that's a nice view of the wall with a whole bunch of sponges
Okay,
again.
so
and
you are coming my way.
Yes,
Okay.
and it's just a tender
these
length, and then
Yeah, that's
we'll,
fine.
sponges had disappeared
the-
for a while.
I thought you were
and
still
all we were
gonna
seeing
pass
was
this one
these
to the right, so I'll back up a
Metallogorgias
little.
and other chrysogorgid corals.
Look at
And,
the stuff behind me first.
and now we start seeing other things again. And yeah, this gives you a nice appreciation for the current. We do have a nice flow here.
And another observation in that sediment pocket, you can tell that there is almost no current at the surface of interface between the sediment and the water column directly above it. And so Dan has mentioned how there's a exponential increase in the velocity of the current as you start to go off of the surface, and there's no ripples or any kind of indication that that sediment has been moved or transported horizontally or anything like that. So a good example of what Dan has been mentioning throughout this dive is that the current exponentially increases off the surface, which is why a lot of these organisms tend to use the corals and sponges as a way to get up higher in the water column. So.
Yeah.
Looks
All right, going back to point.
Looked like a fish almost swam into the box there.
This
Huh?
narrow, flat
yeah,
portion, and then we're going to be heading
more to the north again.
more northerly. Okay.
So depth right here is 850 meters, and now we're starting to see oxygen levels around 1.5, which was exactly the same we had to where we landed, and that was about
The move is almost complete.
400 meters, over 400 meters deeper than this. So over this 400 meters, we've seen that drop below 1.0, and now it's coming back up again.
Come down a bit.
And
Maybe a little more room.
It looks like a macrurid there on the bottom in the sedimented area.
yeah,
Shifting my head north.
We probably snap them if you want to see before you go all the way in. Kind of looks similar.
Yeah, I think they have an ID already.
Great.
yeah. So we could do a quick snap
All right,
zoom,
let's
but
do it.
I think it's going to be a Coryphaenoides.
Holding.
I don't know.
Looks like
No, I don't.
Go ahead.
come in.
No, it's not.
Holding.
Yeah, my first guess on this is a Nezumia species
Yeah.
or Ventrofossa, one of the more shallow genera.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah.
Andrea's got Nezumia on that too, so I think that's a good. There are several
Just
species
gotta
there
leave-
in Hawaii.
I
It's
gotta
got a
leave
slightly
it go.
upturned
Just
snout.
head
That
towards the
looks
rocks.
like a Nezumia.
Here we go.
Okay, Jim.
Excellent. Yeah, and as we were zooming in on that Nezumia, there's also, you could get appreciation. There's a whole bunch of like
Looks like
sponge debris in that sediment pile.
045.
And
Okay.
So
Another 30?
yeah, let's just do 30.
Daniel, on that Zoom, I didn't know if you all noticed all the dead coral
Yes,
rubble
yeah.
in this pit here of sand.
yeah,
Yeah, was that
See any live? Oh,
30
there's
meters. There
coral
are
rubble
0.45
or
degrees,
sponge skeleton?
Decimal 2 knots.
I did see some sponge fibers. Andrea says, yeah, some coral fragments are too. But I don't-
Yeah, when we were zooming in on that rat tail, you could see coral rubble kind of scattering the bottom, and then if you look off to the right, there's some
Nice.
live hard coral.
Orienting direction.
Oh, quite all right. Gosh, that is some hoofty current.
Yeah. So we do have a very, very strong current here in this area. We're D2 is fighting to
hold its position.
to
port
hold
starboard.
position. Yeah.
That the current's coming right through this sediment gully. It seems.
So Daniel, if you get a chance to zoom in on one of those little bushy sponges, that would be great. Even a snap zoom.
Excellent. Yeah, so if we have the opportunity to get a...
One of these on the right here with the crab.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those.
Go ahead, video. Let's start going in.
Starting in, I. Holding.
Well, we'll pick one. There we go.
Coming in a little more. Holding.
So these look a little different, but I'm pretty sure they're in the same genus Pharea. And this is the sort of small bushy form that we call Pharea near Oka, in contrast to what we were seeing earlier, which was the taller erect form, which is known as Pharea near Oka erecta.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, and then we see another of those Glyptometra crinoids, a bunch of ophiuroids.
Then come out and get both if you want.
Up to you.
Yeah, let's try and just do a pull and hold.
So yeah, we're at depth of 850 meters. We still have 150 meters of elevation gain
Wide in
to go to the top of the ridge, which is what we are hoping to accomplish during this dive. But right now we're in an area where there's very, very strong current.
Oscillate a bit more when you're going sideways.
Making it hard to maintain position, but we'll try to fight up slope here.
Pushing ahead, co-pilot.
Got it? I think you have plenty of time. So.
Fish just below the center in the sediment patch.
Copy that.
Just go partial.
partial eye. There's another one high left when we get done with this, if they're interested in fish.
Okay, that's going wide.
Wide eye.
Look like it's an apibranchidial.
All right. It's taking a little bit longer to settle out the vertical. You can go back in now.
All right, coming in.
Hopefully I won't go
Holding.
shooting past it this time.
Then come in a little more
Yep.
if you want. Just about there. Of course, now.
Yeah, I waited too long.
You should pop out of there.
I think
That's that single strong lateral line I was talking about.
It's not very cooperative.
Okay, let's go in. Oh, no, I lost him in the light.
Yeah, he's gone way
Yeah,
down
let's
in
come out.
there. We're coming out. I think his buddy's going to be way high and off to the left in the current. I think he's probably gone.
See if we can make cover some ground, but yeah, the current is
How are we doing on the move, Jim?
pretty substantial.
It's 3/4.
Okay.
We actually went
And
well.
yeah,
There's two of them down there.
3 of them.
Quite a
Yeah.
few fish here.
Yeah, they really have, in the last 100 meters, increased. 100 meters vert.
So I think on that next move, we'll shift a bit more northerly.
So yeah, we're starting to see a big increase in the oxygen level. We're close to 1.6 now. And
So you're looking at 030 about. 040.
Yeah, 040.
and yeah, this fan, if we can take a quick look at that.
Now, there was also another fish on the edge of that little cliff face.
About 015.
Copy that, Roger.
Okay, gained waypoint 2.
Copy that.
Yeah, we can shift more.
Take a quick
I think
look.
it's too late, though. I
Actually,
think we're moving.
Yeah, that's a
for the
beautiful
shift, so
view. We'll take a look at this coral
A
first.
little higher than that, more like 20s, probably. Yeah, 020.
Couple crabs on it if you want them. 3.
And 380 meters.
That matches pretty closely to what I'm seeing on sonar now that I'm getting up a bit higher.
So Daniel, maybe I'm mistaken, but this is sort of looking like it could be that demasponge Stellodorix, but that's a guess from this view.
Yeah, no, I was gonna get want to get a closer view because that looked very coral-like from
Coupon,
afar,
can you
but
take my camera?
it's a little challenging with.
Okay, got it.
We do have a couple of these Farreid sponges in front of us. Another asteroid, but yeah, this is definitely the first time we've seen it in this dive.
What do you need, pilot?
Stand by.
Okay.
Still trying to settle in these currents. The verticals don't seem to be. I know what my issue's been. Gosh. Okay. Stand by. I'm bouncing. We're just gonna hold this one. Go ahead.
Talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, go on in. Partial. Probably really shows
No,
the
that's a
current there,
bamboo
doesn't it?
coral. That's a very unusual looking bamboo. Scott, I hope you're watching this.
I'm watching, but it's really pixelated. I'm wondering if it's zoanthid overgrowing a bamboo coral. It's too pixelated for me to see right now.
Coming in
No, that's
might be
you're
a
definitely
fish
seeing
off to
the polyps of
right.
an octocoral there. They're branched and 8 tentacles.
Well, I'll weigh in right now. I think this is a collectible. I don't know how difficult it'll be in that current. But this is really unique, I think.
Yeah, I agree. This is very different.
Yeah, I don't know what all those elongated things are hanging
Come
off
up a little
of it.
bit.
And Andrea, did
Please,
you just
Capone.
suggest they were maybe egg sacs? That's a possibility, I
Just
guess.
get the branches in the light.
Yeah, but
I did suggest that. I've never seen anything like that before. Have you, Scott?
Well, one of the dives last week, we saw Chrysogorgia that had these elongated structures hanging off of it, and I suggested they were egg sacs as well, some kind of cephalopod or
Is the
something.
ship stopped?
But they don't really look like that here.
All right, let's come on.
On the thick part of this branch, it looks like they are part of the octocoral tissue. Very bizarre. And yeah, I also advocate for a collection
Okay,
of
we're
this.
gonna keep.
I agree,
Ooh,
Daniel.
we're pretty shallow. Full wide, please.
Are we going to collect? It sounds like
I'm not sure what's going on in that branch. Are those things just restricted to that lower left side, or are they all over the colony?
well,
Elongated sac-like thing.
yeah, in the portion where we zoomed in, you could see it everywhere there, but we'll take a look here. But I just
they're much
passed on a
better now.
request, so I guess there is a consensus here. There's at least 3 people that have never seen that before.
I thought for sure I'd turned it off.
And we'll see if it isn't a little bit of a difficult
All right, go ahead.
position here with current.
Okay.
But we'll try to grab a branch here. This is very unusual.
Tilt up, tilt down.
Actually, let's stand by. Let's see if I can get in a better stance.
Might be able to, I don't know. The organism itself is blocking our light. I don't know if there's a swing
And
arm we
just a
can
quick
position
measurement, about 1 meter in height, this colony.
Bring our lures further down. I think they're only
Yeah,
partially
let's
down
let's start getting the. I'll take my camera back. Let's start getting
And,
lures moved.
So yeah, we're going to set up here to try to collect
Video in the
this
meantime.
coral.
Let's
Our current
go
depth
on
is
the edge here.
842
Roger,
meters.
coming in.
We did, at the very
Hold
early
there.
portion of the dive, did collect a rock sample, so this would be our first biological sample. And yeah, that answers your question there, Scott, that you could see that throughout the colony. And yeah, I don't know what that is.
Daniel, this one might be worth doing a double prep. In other words, putting most of it in alcohol, but also prepping a portion of this in formalin.
Copy that, Chris. Yeah, and I was thinking that it might be very valuable to do some histology on that work.
Yeah, bring that lower port in.
So yeah, that's
Those are eggs that have been deposited by something that is not the coral. Then there are an awful
bring that
lot
lower
of them,
port.
which makes me think
Inboard?
that
Yeah,
it's more
right.
likely it's part of the
So I
coral,
just brought it
but
out.
it's not anything like I've ever seen.
No. You have it
Not
right.
just bamboo coral, but any other
swing
coral.
it.
yeah, I agree with you, Scott. They seem to be
bring it to the right.
distributed
There you
all
go.
along the colony, and they're somewhat uniform too. Yeah, they're not really irregular, and yeah, suggesting that is part of the coral. I definitely agree, and what Chris Kelly was pointing out there about doing a prep in both formalin and alcohol, so different preservatives do different things to tissue. So alcohol is
pretty good on
typically
that.
what's used to
I was scared something.
for DNA, for
all
example,
this
is that
stuff
it
coming through the
preserves
water
DNA way, but what happens is it also
Just could have I'm not sure I can get that.
color will leach out. So if you put something in alcohol, the color will be lost, and it also hardens the tissue. So it makes it very difficult if you then want to do some dissections and take a look at the internal structures. Alcohol is
That's
not
all
the
you
best
could do.
preservative of choice. Now formalin is one. If you put stuff in formalin, it will preserve the internal structures, and it will not harden the skeleton. But the
Sorry, Dan, this is an amazing view, and they almost look like dactylozoids, which seems kind of crazy.
Coming down.
Man, this,
And I guess I should say that a dactylozoid would be a defensive polyp.
How you feeling over there, co-pilot?
Polyp just packed with
A little
nematocysts.
stretched out.
Yeah.
You know, where everything
But I
is
can't rule
stationary
out
and
eggs
settled
either.
down. But if
Boy,
you're not
I
feeling
sure can't
pulled
wait to
around,
see
then,
this
I
sample.
think we'll be all right.
I think I'm feeling fine, as long as you're not worried you're still moving.
No, I think we're settled out. So, if you want to
Watch lead, are you happy with that? Are we ready to collect?
We are ready to collect.
Roger
Yeah,
that.
that's great imagery. Thank you.
Let's come full wide.
coming full wide.
Mini Zeus on the right.
Yeah, that is very, very bizarre
Yeah, we'll get the
And,
arm out there and see if there's a good section to
and interesting. And
recover.
this is a large animal, and no one has seen this
Control your mini Zeus.
bamboo coral
Yes,
here in
please.
Hawaii. And also no one has seen those particular structures there on the polyps. And
Stand
You
by.
know,
I
if
can
one of
see my
those
feet
red
moving.
squat lobsters, Gastroptychus, were to fall into the box with your sample, it might make somebody at Texas A&M very happy.
yeah, copy that, Chris. We'll see if we can grab one of these side branches. But we'll see how problematic that is. But so yeah, maybe we can. I don't know how difficult it is. That branch that's right in front of us has a squat lobster at the very bottom, and
We'll get the arm out there, watch lead, and
yeah, I mean,
and see how big it is. Okay.
Do you think I'm pulling you with the tether, or is it just the current?
No, I think it's just the current.
Okay.
And I don't.
so just
Really have a
looking
good
ahead, we have
plan.
about 3 hours remaining on this dive.
I just think the BSR is.
So we are going to be pushing off the
Oh,
bottom
you guys want to
around
bring Sirius over?
Yeah, we can do that.
6
Okay.
o'clock
We're right on the edge.
Hawaii
Well, let's
time.
do that then. I'll pull off.
Or just
Okay.
come down a little bit.
Let's bring Sirius over. That'd be better.
It's only 50 meters off the bottom, so I'm gonna bring my camera back.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just right on that border of where I wasn't sure if we'd need to make the move or not.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Watch lead this pilot.
Go ahead, pilot.
Yeah, since this coral's right here on the kind of this pinnacle, we really want to do it right.
So it
We've got
looks
enough current coming around, so we're pulling back and going to bring Sirius in closer. to ensure that we
000.
do this properly.
Copy that. Thank you, pilot.
So it will take a few more minutes than usual.
Westerly than that.
Okay.
Let's
Copy
do
that.
3,
So yeah, we are just gonna.
5-0.
This particular coral is in a difficult spot for sampling, so they're gonna have to bring around the other vehicle.
Maybe just
The current and the position of the coral being on the right of the top of this pinnacle is
Bridge now.
going to make it a little bit more challenging to collect it, but we'll try to get our
Yeah, we'd like to do a little
all the
15
vehicles aligned to do the
bearing
collection
350
here.
degrees.
Yeah, you can see every once in a while Sirius will take a jump left, and that's the tether going tight.
Hi, Daniel. Before you leave this area too, just to note, if you could zoom in on the smaller white coral on the left as well, whenever there's time, that would be great.
We'll try to do that right now, Watchling. We'll try to get that white coral now.
And there's also a good-sized fish in the sediment area, just about in the center of the screen, slightly to the left.
Won't be able to get the fish.
Yeah, Bruce, it looks like a morid. I don't know what you think it is.
Yeah,
It's got a tall first dorsal fin spine. It looks like it might be a Lepidion.
yeah, I think that fish is a little bit out of our reach, but we'll get the coral now.
We'll have to zoom from here for the
Yeah.
fish. Go video.
Going.
Or now that I see the posterior ends of the dorsal and anal fins, it could be an
Haven't seen that
Antimora.
before.
And so we have it right
Full
now
zoom.
zoomed.
Full zoom.
There you go.
Okay,
I know
that's
he's
good.
out
It looks
there.
like the snout's not as pointed as Antimora, so it
Thank
could
you.
be Lepidion. I don't know what Andrea thinks.
Yep.
It's a morid, definitely a morid.
Yeah, I was thinking Antimora at first,
Ah,
but you're
come a
right,
little
it doesn't
partial,
have that
please.
pointed
Yeah,
snout.
right there. One little more.
Hold.
Holding.
Yeah, I think this is a Lepidion, something we haven't seen before on these dives.
Okay, go more.
A little more. Oh.
So if you're anxious to move on, I think that's probably good for that.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay, let's come on.
Coming wide eye.
Thank you very much.
I wonder if you could sample this from the other side.
Well, no, that was that one species that's really deep. Only the one species, not all.
So yeah, we'll bring the vehicle around and try to collect this, and then we'll get you an image of that small white coral as well. So yeah, our depth is 840 meters throughout the dive. So we did start to dive at close to 1,300 meters, and that was over 650 meters away from where we are right now. We still have about 300 meters or so that we want to climb here to the very
Go ahead,
top.
video.
So we'll
Just about finished that move.
Okay, yeah, it's looking a lot better now. Let's see how much the
yeah,
current
that
is.
looks like a lot of one of these Analopsamia.
Yeah, let's come on. I'm not stable enough.
Yeah, roger that. I think we got an ID.
It's actually an interesting thought video about sitting down here.
If you lose your footing, you're going to drift into it.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is something also we see very commonly, is that pinnacles are prime habitat for corals and sponges.
Problem is, I think it's going to be
Too
too
high up.
high.
Yeah.
But while we're here,
Yeah.
let's,
Yeah, we. Well, that guy, we're in the right place.
So this is what we think is the true Analopsamia rostrata. Although I don't see the rostrum super clearly right now, it should be a little type of a projection coming off of part of the calyx. I think I can see one, but Enlopstamia for sure.
It's not as hard now as it was before.
Yeah, it's
Coming
fine.
out.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
let's come back around and try getting this coral.
Excellent.
We're almost done with the move. We probably are.
Yeah, they're really close. He hasn't told me yet, but I'm sure we're there.
Yeah, so we've seen a few of those, and
Thank you, Bridge. Move's complete.
They just turned that off. I think they may have. Yeah.
Pilot videos should change.
I'm sorry, hello?
Roger.
Oh, I came here to demonstrate the sample to a coworker, but I'm still waiting for my coworker.
Oh, and I don't know how to turn it on.
Oh, it's on the button. Yeah, he's fine. No worries. But I would like him to see it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's here.
With you as you need, pilot.
All right, I think that's.
Does that feel more stable?
It's hard to tell. I'm worried as soon as I get my arm out there, it's gonna. So let's come down hard on the verts.
If we center him up a little bit on CPHD, I can zoom in.
Negative.
Not right now.
Interesting fish swimming through. Serious view.
Sorry, yeah. It's, I don't want to pull his back end off the footing he has.
Are you, hydraulics are up?
Hydraulics are up.
Can you bring on HD2, please?
You got it.
Hydraulics coming on. Are we full wide? Yeah, we're full wide. Okay.
Current expedition. Hang on a second. Let me finish this.
All cameras are full wide.
I'll follow you with Mini Zeus. Get it in the frame and I'll stop it there.
Watch lead, is there a piece that you see here?
Actually, the best thing I can.
Stand by, pilot. I'm going to try and get some information back from the biologists.
All right.
Thanks. But, I don't know. Anybody on the conference call that can advise our pilots on any specific piece, or we're just gonna go ahead and grab something?
I didn't hear the question, Don.
Oh, Scott. So the pilots are questioning if there's a specific piece that we should grab, or if anything is easy, or if there's a preference at all.
What we saw, it looked like those sack-like structures were all over, so I think that anything is easy. But it'd be nice that after you collect it to just verify that it does have some of
You
those
should be able to
sack-like
get the jaws
structures
out
on it.
here.
Okay, copy that, Scott.
Let's go partial zoom here, video. I'm looking at this chunk right above the squat lobster.
There'll be a time difference of about 4 hours.
And it has the interesting features.
Yeah, so I think that's what we're going to go for, pilot. We would like to get any of those sections that have those sack-like structures And then once we do make the collection, if we could get a quick zoom on those as well.
On the sampled section?
Yeah, on the sampled section.
Okay.
Great.
Let's come back wide.
Hey, Bruce, could you mute your mic, please?
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm
Video,
multitasking.
can you come
and I
wide,
got
please?
distracted. I'll do that
in
now.
HD.
Don't worry, I was guilty of that the other day for quite a while with the whole class in here.
So if any of you were just joining or just tuned in, it's perfect timing. We are currently making our very first biological collection from a seamount that is just east of a place called Salmon Bank. We are 1,260 miles to the northwest of Honolulu. And we are currently at a depth of 843 meters. So some of you may be able to make out 2 red dots below that squat lobster. Those are spaced out at 10 centimeters.
Let's do it.
Yeah, pilot, that looks great.
One thing that would be helpful if they sample below a branch point, because whether it branches from the node or the inner node is really important for this group of corals.
Okay, copy that, Chris. Pilot, did you catch that?
That far down? That seems like an awful big chunk.
I will note that there looks like there's lots of branches above where they were about to collect, so I think they were okay.
Yeah, so I think we're going to be sampling. Yeah, pilot, that looks great.
Yeah, I agree. That looks great there. Just making sure, Scott, that's all, that they got some branch points there.
Understood, Chris. You might get the crab here, too.
So, yeah, Bobby, you might have a chance to get your second attempt at a squat lobster.
I better pull him away from the other branches.
Oh.
No, he jumped ship right away.
Okay, what do you want, Bobby?
Is there interest in trying
John,
to lure a crab?
You were asking me a question about the tentacle-like structures, and I was not looking at the event log that time. Do you still need an answer to that? Was it curiosity or?
Oh, yeah, I was just purely curious as what you actually called those, and I was going to try and get you to spell it out for me in the event log so I could look it up. But I think what you were saying earlier is that they were.
Still do that. I called them dactylozoids.
Dactylozoids. And
D-A-C-T-Y-L zoid.
And so these are.
It just means it's specialized polyp that is just packed with nematocysts. It's usually defensive or aggressive polyp.
Oh, okay, very interesting. Okay.
I don't think any of them want to bite. So actually,
copy that, pilot.
You want to port bio?
Yeah, we're going to go in the port.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah, I think we are.
Okay. Opening shore.
I'm ready in case we start to move.
Okay.
Okay, let's bring
So
Zeus
yeah,
around,
just
please.
getting back to what I was saying earlier, we're at a depth of
Zeus.
843 meters, currently making our very first biological collection on this unnamed seamount that's east of Salmon Bank. We were able to obtain a geological sample at the very beginning of the dive at about 1,280 meters. So we've been taking the time to get ourselves situated in this area of very heavy current flow.
Port bio extend.
And we're currently making a very interesting collection of a bamboo coral or Isididae.
HD camera.
Oh, is the lid
Yeah,
closed?
certainly very different than all the species that have been imaged here in Hawaii
Is the
before.
lid closed, Dan?
Yes.
Okay.
So at the very least, something new for Hawaii, maybe new to science as well. Yeah, sorry, I just stepped a little bit outside to start thinking ahead for tomorrow's dive site, and based on our transit considerations and covering a large ground, it looks like Castellano Seamount to our southwest is the best target.
Retract them both. And then
there are a couple more seamounts south within the EEZ of the United States that are just to our south that we could dive on, but we do have to, on Friday night, start